Welcome to another episode of the AC Show podcast. As always, we are brought to you by Rebecca Casey, mortgage professional with DLC Origin Mortgages. She'd love to chat with you if you have any questions about the real estate market or mortgage rates at the moment. You can send her an email, rebecca@customcoastmortgages.com. She is one of my top 5 favorite mortgage brokers. And just kidding, she's number 1, obviously. So give her a shout. Tonight's guest is Mr. Dylan Weightman. We reminisce about the times when we used to play gigs together until this whole COVID thing. And we talk about the positives we're finding through this isolation period. We discuss songwriting and why we need to be okay with writing shitty songs. And we even touch on Astrophysics, a book that Dylan gave me that I've really enjoyed reading so far and can't wait to finish as my first book that I've ever read in my entire life, believe it or not. So enjoy the episode, you guys. Make sure you head to my website, andrewchristophermusic.com, and sign up for my newsletter and subscribe, rate, and share this podcast. Thank you.
It's the Andrew Christopher Show with Andrew Christopher, your host. It's the Andrew Christopher Show. But really we call it the AC Show. Yeah, we really call it the AC Show. Really call it the AC Show. It's the AC Show. It's the AC Show with AC, your host. Check
Yeah, man, it's been, I guess, almost 2 months since we played a gig together.
With no end in sight.
That's crazy. Yeah. I miss it. I miss the Miller. I didn't know how bad I would miss it, but I think I do.
I just miss playing.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
I was gonna make whiskey sour, but then Ledger took a while to put to bed, so I skipped the sour part, and it's just whiskey.
Nice.
No cucumber mint for you tonight?
I had one, yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I was bitching. Gin, cucumber, mint.
So how do you make it? Give me the mixology.
Cucumber, like mullet, right?
Yeah, you got a mullet? A mullet? You have a mullet?
Yeah, I got a mullet coming in. And then just chop up the mint, put the ice in, pour a couple ounces of gin, a little bit of that buble.
Oh, yeah?
Lime buble is the real trick.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering what the non-alcohol in it was, but I guess the ice will help take it off too, but that's cool. I've never tried it. Maybe I'll get into that.
It's good. I think it's like a martini, to be honest.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I made a couple like real margaritas with just the actual lime juice in it, and then the actual, triple sec and tequila with it, but kind of more fresh rather than getting like the pre-made margarita mix. So those turned out really well. And then I did make my first whiskey sour with like even the egg white that you're supposed to use.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah, it was pretty killer. Got it done.
Cool.
As far as some like epic moments as a duo that you and I have had, I thought of a couple off the top of my head. I thought it would be fun to chat about a few of our favorites since we're missing each other so dearly.
Yeah. Man, there's so many.
I'd like to start it off, and this is already breaking the rules, so we'll probably just end up talking about whatever, because this was actually at a Big Shiny gig, so not as a duo, but we worked as a duo for this moment, and it was at that backyard wedding when we actually had to carry a girl into the house. She was like passed out in the farmer's field. And
yeah, we thought it was a deer.
we did think it was a deer, right? Yeah. I think you or Adam spotted it. And then as we got closer, realized it was a female human being. And you and I picked her up, strong-armed her into the house.
Yeah, jeez. I've run into that couple a few times, and we always chat about how epic their wedding was.
I know, yeah, because we know them fairly well. I wasn't going to name names, but
no, we won't. But yeah, that was pretty, crazy. I think I got to that one late too. I double dipped that night.
Yeah, you double dipping son of a gun.
Yeah, I have ones too. I kind of like we've been doing it like 7 or 8 years, I think now, the duo thing. And there's like eras to it. And I always think back to those first couple of years. And like one that just popped in my head yesterday was, fuck, man, just sitting at the Voyager Bistro in Sun Peaks, eating tortilla, snowing outside, getting ready to play.
Yeah.
When we had like just 30 songs or whatever, right? Like we barely could fill a night.
Yeah, right. We had like
And
actual
man, those
set
were
lists
just
written
fun
out.
moments. Yeah, we're back and forth to Kamloops a lot, weirdly,
Yeah.
in the first 2 years. Yeah, I just thought of sitting there eating tortilla, getting ready to play for all the Australians. So fun.
Yeah, I miss it up there. They've been tuning in a lot to my live streams that I've been doing, especially Kevin Tessier, the owner of the restaurant, and he always chirps me pretty good and like hits on Jamie and stuff on the chat for my Facebook live streams. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And then he's called me a few times, and after a few Jägermeisters, and talked my ear off. But such a good guy, right?
Yeah, they got a good thing going there.
If anybody's ever up in Sun Peaks, go say hi to Kevin at the Voyager Bistro for sure.
And have some tortilla.
And tell him Dylan sent you.
Yeah.
So
that one popped in my head for sure.
Yeah. Side note, but did you hear about my sponsorship, the Russell Brewing, right?
Yeah. You sent me a picture of all that beer.
Yeah, that's why I was hoping that you would actually come out here, and from 6 feet away we would do this, and then you could have a couple of those beers. But it didn't work out.
That would have been good.
But yeah,
that's one
sweet.
thing with this COVID. The motivation it seems harder to go anywhere than ever, right? Like when you're already on the move, it's easy to just like keep going. But when you have to stay in, it's all of a sudden just seems so daunting to, make those trips. Maybe I'm just being lazy, but it really feels like it's taking some momentum out.
Yeah, I think it is. It's a bit bigger of a deal to get in your car and drive an hour, because I used to do it 3 or 4 times a week, and now I don't. So it's like, oh, I guess I don't have to do this. I'll just stay home. But yeah, there's some weird mind games going on in my head for sure. Anyway, that I'm still trying to figure out. One of the other awesome moments I thought of figuring out, or I just always like how we play off each other, and specific moments where we just hit a note or hit a certain shot together, or you hit a harmony or whatever, and we look back and we're just like, that was so epic.
Oh man.
The most recent one that comes to mind is during Wrecking Ball by Eric Church, that you love or whatever, and there's a few shots in there where when we hit them perfectly and hit them so tight, it just sounds incredibly awesome. And there was one time, probably only like 4 or 5 months ago at the Miller, I was like, damn, that was really good. And you were like, yeah, I know, we nailed those, so good. But
man, that's the thing that I miss so much right now, though, is like I'm practicing more than ever. I think a lot of people are playing instruments and taking the time to do that stuff, but you can't replace playing, right? Like when me and you play 3 nights in a week, by the 3rd night, we like every time I move my hand, you hit a chord. Like it's just, we're inseparably tight.
Yeah.
And fuck, man, I just like, I get so anxious to get that tightness back.
It's going to be pretty cool though, right? Like, yeah, because it's when we start out, the first couple might be a little shaky.
Totally, they will be.
And in saying that, not many people are really going to notice, but we're going to notice. Like, we're still going to sound pretty good, but we'll notice. And then by the 4th or 5th gig, we'll start getting it back, or maybe even it'll take like a month or so to really get locked in, but we'll be able to see that progression happening again.
Yeah.
So, and it'll happen so quickly. Like,
and there's a good chance, like anything, like you push and push and push, and then you take a break, and then you go higher and higher. It's like maybe this will be a whole new level for us when we can play again. Who knows?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, come back stronger.
But yeah, I missed like the first couple of years, it was pretty common that we do 3, 4, sometimes 5 together.
Yeah.
And I was in my last year of university, and all I did was go to school and play gigs with you. We had the Henry, we had Milltown, we had the Miller, and then random fucking parties on weekends. Oh, and like, man, we had so many crazy situations those first couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the kind of inaugural party where we played at that estate in Abbotsford there, the one I'm talking about, it was a 40th birthday party.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that was kind of our first private party where like we got tipped, and we got to drink free beer and eat this amazing food. And we were like, what is this thing that we're doing right now? How do we do more of
Yeah.
it? And yeah, then
And I believe we took a hiatus after that one, right?
because that was around when Lily got sick. Is that
Yeah.
what it lined
So
up with?
you kind of started up with it,
Yeah.
and we did it like 8 months. I was going to do it for free originally. Like I heard you were playing solo acoustic, and I was like, we had done the full band stuff, and I was like, man, I want to play with you. And I think I showed up at Corky's or whatever,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I just did percussion, and it was awesome. And then I just kept coming along with you. And I think we did till the end of that summer. That might have been the last one. And then you took the break, of course, with Lily.
Yeah.
And then after that, you went fucking guns a-blazing for till now.
Yeah. Yeah, it worked out well. Woody brought up the fact, he said you guys were chatting the other day about how when we were with Pardon My Striptease and we all had regular jobs, like Woody was at Safeway, you were at Future Shop,
Future
right?
Shop.
And then I was working with Pathways, with the disabled adults. And yeah, it was weird because like we were in the original rock band, you know, pretty young. We all had decent jobs, working the day jobs and then doing the band thing at night. And he said you guys chatted about it. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting. And I was like, were those times better or are these times better? And I'm like, I think I have to say that now is better. But for yourself, like, I mean, I know you have a pretty sweet job right now, so I think I know the answer. But looking back on those days when you were still slugging it out at Future Shop or whatever, and then doing the original music thing, like, how do you compare them or how do you think about them when you look back?
That's a tough one because I've always been addicted to like trajectory and progress.
Cool.
So like I don't really care where I'm at if it feels like it's leading somewhere. And that time was really exciting. Like we started out with that big trip to New York playing together, and then it was like, you know, working with Clint Hames, who's really good at organizing around goals. So it felt like I was so motivated. We always had something coming up. And now the last couple of years have been really tough for me with like not having a big project or being a clear idea what that project will be next. And I'm not good like that. I need to have like a goal that I believe in to work towards. So it's a trade-off. Like I like the job I have now, but that's all pretty recent. I struggled there in between when I wasn't playing as much with you, and I worked that other job that was really stressful. Yeah, I just like, I'm addicted to a goal and kind of a purpose for sure.
So has it been a couple years that you've been struggling to find this out, or let's find that goal. I know you have big aspirations to do with music and to do with business. So what do you think is kind of holding you back? Or
I think it's probably a transition period of being able to like make my own music.
Yeah.
Right. Like I dabbled in it a couple of years ago, but I wanted to get stronger at singing, stronger at songwriting, all this. And there's like bound to be this lull where you just can't, like I was so focused on just drums, and it's like, okay, now I need to build up another skill set as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was a big part of it, but now I'm getting more confident in what I'm doing and making some plans to maybe do some more music and kind of changing my relationship with it. So it's probably healthier as well. You know, like you can't put that much pressure on yourself. You gotta have good, like healthy aspirations for it, but you can't be like, you have to write the next huge song. That's just not, you're never going to do it like that. Right.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is something else recently that you've been trying to be better at? And it could be an internal thing or it could be external. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever way
big or small
you thought about it. Yeah. Big or small, fun or serious.
I'll give you one of each.
Yeah.
Okay. Big. A big thing I'm working on is trying to just finish more things.
Yeah.
Like I really think a lot about that quote. That's like, the way you do anything is how you do everything, or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so true, right? If you leave little things unfinished, you probably do the same thing with bigger things. So, I love having the job I have that's about drums and drumming, because then all day I get to practice like finishing things, finish writing this, finish any assignment I have. And then same with songs, right? Like how easy it is to leave a song unfinished. So that's kind of the big thing I'm trying to work on more. A little thing, no joke, I'm trying to watch more movies. I don't know if you find the same thing as you get older. Like I can't sit through a 2-hour movie without looking at my phone, stopping, pausing, finishing it another day. Like you got to be able to watch at least a movie in one sitting, right? It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. something that draws parallel to that is how I mentioned to Jaden how the music world is shrinking, how people used to listen to entire albums at once, and then people just listen to like a full song at once, and then now even the full song, they're getting sick of it and they just listen to 15 seconds on TikTok. You know what I mean? And it's the same way that I think films have gone. Watching a full movie down to these short films or down to just 30-second clips on Instagram, or YouTube videos at 5 minutes, maybe max. But that's what is really driving people. It's this short attention span that's comes, I guess, with like just being bombarded with media from everywhere, right? You've got so much access to little things. So that is cool. I think you should watch more full movies.
And when I do, like, not every night or anything, but like once a week, I'll try and watch a movie beginning to end, no interruptions. And when I do, I feel a lot better. But funny you mentioned that about music, because with all those like album challenges going around, everyone's saying post your top 10 albums that influenced you. I try to be really honest with mine. Like, it's easy to like puff yours up a little bit and pretend you listened to all these iconic albums, and maybe you didn't, right? Yeah. So I tried to be really honest about mine, and a lot of them were like greatest hits albums, right? And then I realized, like, we're from a greatest hits generation. When we were coming of age in the 90s, just starting to get exposed to music, all those stars from the 60s and 70s were putting out greatest hits albums. And so it was pretty natural for us, between it being greatest hits and then also a CD format, we would just skip songs and just cherry pick songs. And I don't think either of us or anyone really appreciated that was a luxury just our generation had. Everyone else had to listen to the whole cassette, listen to the whole record.
Yeah, and I got a record player and a bunch of records. I showed you that, right? I got it from Ryan Weeks. And so I'm like trying to find the time now to go down there and sit and listen to records front to back. And because you're right, I never really did that. I did a few CDs that I would listen to front to back quite often, maybe, but just a couple I could even think of. But what you were saying about like the greatest hits generation, and then also these mixed CDs were becoming so popular, like the Much Dance CDs or whatever, or the Big Shiny Tunes albums, right? These compilation albums, like that's what you would buy. You wouldn't go out and buy the newest Third Eye Blind CD. Maybe you would just get the one that has a bit of Third Eye Blind, a bit of Our Lady Peace, a bit of Matt Good, all in one, like the best songs. So I totally see what you're saying there.
I don't know how you feel as a songwriter, but I feel like it's taken me a long time to realize that a lot of the songs that I love and influenced me came off albums that there was shitty songs on.
Yeah.
Right? Like, not every song from the Eagles or a lot of these bands was amazing. Or even like Tom Petty, you'll actually listen to an album and you'll find tracks you'll be like, I don't know about that. The good ones are incredible, but you can't compare the ones you write to literally a greatest hits album, right?
Yeah, I'll have to kind of not listen for that, but take a bit more notice, because I'm sure you're right that.
And then it makes you appreciate exceptions like Led Zeppelin or the Beatles, where every song has something special to it. You're like, holy shit, that's why these guys are so good. But I've been reading and listening to a lot of like Bob Dylan, a guy that, you just feel obligated. You need to know a little bit about him if you're going to play music.
Yeah.
And after his first few albums that were so celebrated, there's dozens and dozens of albums. He just started putting them out to try and get off his contracts. And some of the songs, they're not very good. And he even admits in his book that they were kind of whatever, he just did them.
Yeah.
And it's empowering, because then you're like, okay, you don't always have to write Lay Lady Lay or fucking Blowing in the Wind or something.
Yeah. So that kind of ties into what you were saying about finishing things as well, as what you're trying to be better at, just songs in general. Because I'm the same way. I've started a lot of songs, but I don't finish them. And I know a lot of big professional musicians say that as well. But it kind of goes along a different line when you think of what you said about Bob Dylan, how he just wrote these songs and finished them and put them out there. Because it's like they say, you write 100 songs and there's one good one. But I don't know if that works. You write 100 half songs and then you find a good one. Like, maybe I think you need to complete these songs to really get those reps and that amount of practice. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I'm starting to feel like there's a very different process from 1% to 75% complete, and then 75 to 100. Like, and the more you can exercise the whole process, probably the better. Because, I have so many songs where whatever sparks that idea is a totally separate part of the brain than the one that grinds it out and beats it into submission into an actual finished,
Yeah.
coherent song.
Huh. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to ask more of the same questions to my different guests. And
Yeah, cool.
I think it's just kind of showing what I'm interested in, also about myself, maybe, but about, finding out what you guys have to say. And so the next one about high school, I'm like, okay, so there must be some like hidden agenda within myself wondering or thinking about my experiences in high school. And I'm like, I'm going to listen to other people's answers and then see if I can tie that into my own life and this kind of thing. But when you think of high school, what are some distinct memories you have? It can be as random as you want, or maybe something you've thought about that you thought was random, and then you're like, wow, I still remember that. So why am I actually remembering this so well? What has it taught me, or where did I go from here, kind of thing? Or it could just be who your favorite teacher was and what you liked about gym class.
I feel like I remember a lot of high school pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the biggest things that stand out for me, like that's when I really started committing to drumming and music. So I was pretty heavily involved with the band program right away, grade 10, like regular orchestral band, jazz groups, vocal jazz groups. And then I was already starting my own bands and playing on lunch and all that stuff. So that really pretty much dominated the first couple of years. A couple really cool memories the last, like my final year, senior year, whatever, was really cool, playing in this huge musical production called Cabaret. Fuck, man, I feel like looking back, maybe it wasn't super good, but I feel like we had a really, really good pit band, incredible actors on stage. And I remember parents that saw it came away like, that was a really good high school production kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was like, it dominated your whole last year, right? Like every day after school for like 4 hours, you're rehearsing and then 2 shows a night for the whole run of it. Yeah, that was sick. I feel like we did a really good job. I'm proud of it. And the pit band thing was unreal. I was like covering 2 or 3 different percussion instruments, I think. And a lot of my good friends were in the band. It was so sick.
And was there a VHS recorder going? Is this on tape
Yeah,
somewhere? Or maybe
there
even
was
DVD, hey?
There was a show of it recorded, and I think I missed the airing of it for some reason. But I mostly remember band, and then the biggest thing was strength and conditioning, meeting Mr. Fitzsimmons and getting into working out a bit. I was always so scrawny, and it was just kind of like, just felt like this great outlet.
Yeah, totally.
Started secondary as Bob Fitzsimmons was just legendary strength and conditioning teacher. And he like exposed us to, the Arnold Schwarzenegger golden era of weightlifting, and just had a way of jacking up and making you push yourself that probably our generation wasn't exposed to unless you ran into somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'll never forget that. I remember I dropped chemistry in the second half of the year to take his class again, because I was like, you know what, I'm definitely not going to ever use chemistry. And there's something about the connection with this teacher and like what he's inspiring out of us that I'd rather take that. And I'm glad I did, because like I think of him every day, helps me push myself a little bit more. And I don't know how much I would have gotten out of learning the periodic table of elements or whatever, right?
Yeah. But on that note, that book you gave me is making me wish I could go back to at least high school and pay attention in chemistry or physics class.
Yeah.
Because so Dylan lent me a book. I'm not a big reader, but I wanted a book for quite a while, and Dylan gave me a different book. You called the Audible because you didn't think I'd be able to get through the first one, Cosmos, right?
Yeah, and not insultingly, like I honestly think I was lucky I took that astronomy class in university, and everyone laughed at me, but I fucking loved it because it was pretty hardcore physics and shit.
Yeah.
And so when I read a book like Cosmos, it was a little bit dry for me, but I was able to connect. When you're reading, it's all about making connections. Otherwise, you just get bored and you don't pay attention. But if you can like, oh yeah, that's what that was about, and I remember reading this somewhere else, and then you kind of get into it. So I figured if you enjoyed this book, then you'll like Cosmos a lot more than if you had no background going into it.
Who wrote Cosmos?
Carl Sagan.
Okay, right. And the one you gave me is Astrophysics for People in a Hurry by Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, so I don't know if Carl Sagan mentored him. I know that they met, but Carl Sagan was his hero.
Yeah. And so this book, I'm loving it. I've started it, I guess 6 days ago, and I've read one chapter every day.
That's awesome.
And even like in the morning before everyone's awake, I've done it once. Or I had to take Ledger on a walk one time, and so I was walking really slowly reading this book. But like
Awesome.
I'm into it. I'm ready to read books, and it's been a bit. Some parts are over my head, and I'm rereading a lot of sentences. And then I sent you the one today where I was like, dude, I'm rereading this sentence and I cannot make it make sense. Please tell me it's a typo. And because I was pretty sure there's a typo, but I was like, there's no way there's a typo in a book like this. But that's a pretty common thing.
If you buy a first or second edition of a book, there's always typos in them.
Yeah, crazy.
It's surprising because you'd think they got editors. They got so many people going through this before it's released, but there's always mistakes. Like a book I just finished was a first edition. That just means you bought it when it first came out, and there were so many mistakes in it.
And this one was like the smallest thing. It was literally just the letter A, like the word ah. There was an ah where there shouldn't be, and I was like, okay, am I missing something? But
Good catch.
I was questioning myself because I had to reread so many other sentences so far, just because of the way they're worded. I'm not used to reading, period. But especially, someone so well written as Neil deGrasse Tyson, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So I'm really glad you gave that to me. But yeah, there's lots of protons and neutrons and neutrinos and quarks and whatever all this stuff is, and I'm like, whoa, I don't know if I even learned about this, but it's kind of he does a good job of helping you tie it together without the previous knowledge.
Yeah, that's a cool thing with that book. But then you also think about nowadays how lucky we are that you can self-study autodidact on just about anything, right? Like you could get that tiny little book about astrophysics, just touches on a few things, and Wikipedia, a bunch of shit in there. And if you actually felt like spending the time, you could come out pretty well versed in some heavy duty astrophysics.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about a lot of it already, but I already in my head I also thought I'm probably gonna reread this at some point in my life because I really like it, and I think just it being the first book I'm actually gonna read. I guess I haven't finished it yet, so knock on wood. The first book I've finished since high school. I don't even know if I read any of those books in high school, so I don't think I've ever finished a full chapter book like this. So
man, it's easy to, again, talking about finishing things, it's way too easy to not finish a book. If I start a book and I fucking hate it, I'll finish it because it's a bad habit, right? It's just sloppy to not finish them.
Is it fair to say that reading something, you don't have to fully understand it to get a benefit out of reading it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. Especially depends what you're exposing yourself to. Like I started a new one really cool book about Leonardo da Vinci, and they start throwing so many names at you, and I don't know a lot about the Renaissance era Italy. And so I'm not going to pick up every single person's involvement in there. And so I just kind of keep going until if I feel like somebody's important, I'll look it up. But no, you're right. Like some books you got to read a few times, or you just got to be okay with what you did take out of it. You're not going to like absorb every word.
Yeah. And man, the weirdest thing I've been feeling is like, so I go out and I read probably for about half an hour maybe. And then I come back in, and at that time, usually I allow myself to go check my email or go on my phone to text people or whatever. And I grab my phone and I'm like, whoa, this is weird. I was just in like a book, like a really old school, just something written. And then I'm grabbing this crazy piece of technology. I don't know why, but that's been blowing my mind so much when I come inside.
No kidding.
And yeah, it's just such a stark contrast that it feels really good, to be honest. Like, and it makes me want to be on my phone even less. Like I almost don't want to pick up my phone. And
the other side of it, and a lot of people would argue with me on this, and I've looked it up and I can't find any conclusive evidence either way, but reading a book versus listening to a book, a lot of people love listening to books. You say that you don't wait back and forth from work, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. But I don't see how it could possibly be as beneficial as actually reading it, right? Like you just think in terms of spelling or learning new words like vocabulary. When you're listening, if you don't know what a word was, it just comes and goes and you miss it. But when you're staring at a page and you're like, fuck is that? Right? Like you have to pause and look at it and maybe even grab your phone, look up the word, and then you're actually building your vocabulary while you're at it.
Yeah, I'm surprised there isn't more, or you haven't really found the evidence, or I'm surprised you get pushback on it. I feel like that's obvious. Like it would be, reading a
No,
book's
man.
going to be better
When
than
I
listening.
looked, because I thought for sure, there'll be tons of articles that prove me right on this, but no, nothing. Everything was like, it could go either way.
So the one I'm wondering about then is what I was comparing, which is even more closely, is like reading on your iPad or on the Kindle or whatever thing, compared to reading an actual book. And I thought,
Yeah, I was wondering that
reading
too.
an actual book must be a little bit better for you. Just, I don't know, they must still give off some of those bad lights that your brain's looking at.
Yeah.
And,
I think for your eyes, for sure, it's got to be. And I think just at the end of the day, at the place we're in with, like, I stare at my computer for work all day, and I stare, hey, Haven. And then I stare at my phone enough throughout the day, and like it's just a nice break to just hold an actual book, right?
yeah, you're pretty good at putting the phone away for certain things.
Now I have been, yeah.
What's kind of your routine around that? Like, do you have much of a set routine or set rules for yourself?
I try. Like I'm really working on part of finishing things is like working on my attention span so that I don't. And I notice it later in the day. It's so much easier for me to just grab my phone. But for the start of the day, I try and keep it longer stretches where I don't look at it. When I first get up, nothing. I don't turn it on. So I keep it totally off till like 7:30 or 8. And if I get up at like 6 or 6:30.
Yeah.
And then, I try to stay off it, but you just need it throughout the day for certain things, right?
Totally, yeah. And I don't think there's anything too wrong with going on it for what you need it for, but I think it's smart if everybody can think about it at least and put some loose guidelines on yourself for, at least the mornings and the night. Like, I think that's the most important part, right?
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of this kind of led into a question I came up with just today when I was out on my run. I messaged you about like the stock market, and as it was going through my head because of this podcast I was listening to. I guess I'll start there. Are you involved or interested at all in the stock market?
I was really lucky when I worked at Future Shop. I don't know if you remember home theater salesman, Yo True.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, he was a big stock guy. He's always trading stocks while he was selling TVs and stuff. Good night, Haven. And so I was like super inspired by him. And so I set up an account when I was like 20 or 21 or something. And I traded a little bit, but then I went to school. So I took all my investments out so that I could, because I think one of the first rules is don't use money that you're going to need in the next like 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So I pulled it out and I just switched it up. I invested in school instead. But recently I've always paid pretty close attention to it. Recently I've been paying very close attention to it. And I luckily didn't own anything when everything plummeted, but I'd like to get into something. For the time being, all I did was buy as many US dollars as I could for now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is it safe to say that a good starting point for the stock market is start small and just try and learn it firsthand? Or, I guess it's always nice to get advice from someone experienced, but if you were just going to jump into it, just put small amounts of money somewhere and look at how it works and figure it out. Like you said, you signed up for an account, or like, how does that even work?
Yeah, just because I was relatively young when I did it, they raked me over the coals of the bank. You actually got to fill out quite a bit of paperwork to set one up.
Oh, really?
And then also to have, then it's different to have, Canadian trading, US trading, short selling, like it's all separate accounts. And I don't use any of it like I was when I was in my early 20s and a little bit ballsier with it. But yeah, as far as getting started, it's so tough, man. Like, I think the biggest thing is don't use money that you're going to need right away, for sure. Especially if you just want to like get a feel for what is going on in there. But then also, you could read things that tell you have to diversify and buy things in all these different industries. So when one goes down, the other goes up and blah, blah, blah. And that's probably smart, but maybe you just want to get your feet wet and maybe you see a company that makes something you're interested in, you believe in it. You just, I'll put in $1,000 and see what happens. And like I had a friend do that with Beyond Meat and she made a shitload of money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then I remember watching an old clip of Red Foo from LMFAO when they were huge. And he was on Mad Money with Jim Cramer on MSNBC show. And he was just saying how like he made hundreds of thousands on Apple when they
Yeah.
were in the absolute shitter, like before Steve Jobs came back. And then he heard they were putting out this thing called the iPod, and he was a big time musician. He was like, fuck, that's a good idea. He put a bunch of money in it, and he made hundreds of thousands of dollars. And not dumb luck. Like, he clearly was a trader, but it's just so funny. He's on this serious business show with his big glasses and afro. And
Yeah. Because the idea that popped into my head, which I'm sure is not a very unique idea, but everything is so low right now, or so much is so low right now. Wouldn't it be a good time to buy some of that, like even a bit, and then see it rise in the next 5 years?
And it's funny you say that. I read an article that they didn't think millennials were into stocks.
Yeah.
Like, our generation hasn't been playing around with it. We've been a lot safer, or maybe we just save every penny to put into a house, right? Because we're having such a hard time with that.
Yeah.
But they said out of nowhere, millennials have been dumping like tens of thousands of dollars in trading accounts and buying stuff because it's so low right now. So it's like maybe we're just feeling a little bit like it was too high a barrier of entry, and now we're just like, let's go.
Yeah. And so, leading to my question, I was curious about this stuff. Like, I'm getting a lot more curious about a lot of things, and so I ask questions and talk about it even on a platform like this. And I'm like, I'm sure to some people this is like, yeah, you fucking idiot. How do you not know that? Like, how do you not know how to get into the stock market, or how do you not know, this about astrophysics or what a neutron is? Because to some people that's like the simplest bit of knowledge that there is. And for guys like me, I know a lot about music, and I know quite a bit about sports and fitness, or songwriting. But so a lot of other people probably don't know that much about that. So leave me alone is what my first thing. And so it made me think about like different areas of expertise. And I would assume your biggest area of expertise is drumming. And so part one, if I'm wrong, you could correct me, or you could let me know what you think your second area of expertise is. And then what's the one thing you wish you could be an expert on, or you wish could take over drumming in your biggest area of expertise?
Like, I have areas I study for fun, and that's in a really nerdy sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll split this into two things because I would take either way. So on, like, I guess you could say the academic side, I don't really like that word, but philosophy and physics, I don't know what it is, man, but like, I will just devour books on it. And I just wish I knew more about it. I didn't take physics in school. It's so interesting. And like, guys who know a lot about it, it's a pretty cool subject. And philosophy is so interesting. Like, you go back to the Greeks, there's a lot in there that I would love to know more about, and I'll chip away at it. But outside that, man, I look at my friends like Desi and Jeff, and I'm so jealous of what they can do mechanically.
Yeah.
Right? Like, fix anything, understand how to take apart and put back together anything, build shit inside a house, a car, a tractor. Like, fuck, man. Like, I don't have that touch. And when you see somebody at work, they've helped me fix my car a million times, and they always know exactly what it is and what piece and where to find it cheaper. Fuck, what a skill, right?
I feel like you don't find many musicians who are good at that stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of guys who are good at that stuff are also good at sports. I'm trying to make this like crossover pattern here. And for me, it's like sports and music, but I'm not good at that stuff. Where I don't know. I also wish I was really good at that. And I just was texting Desi questions because I was changing all 4 tires on my Volkswagen Golf because the winter tires were still on. So I was putting the summer tires on. And even doing that, I was texting him questions like, okay, so let's look at this. Anything else I should be doing in here? Blah, blah, blah. And I got it done, and I felt very accomplished, and it was great. But
yeah, it feels so good when you do it. Like, Jeff has helped me out so many times with my car. Same with Desi. But it's like, they'll make me do the work, which is good for me, right? But you just never have that touch that they do. Like, you'll be trying something, you don't want to break it, and then they'll just take the hammer to it, like, it's fine. And then another thing, you'll be going too hard with it, be like, whoa, 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 you can't do that on that thing. You just can do no right with it, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it just blows me away. And they know exactly what needs to be done to build or manage any project. That'd be a pretty sick set of skills to have too.
That would. There's those, and they're always such good guys too. Hey,
I know.
like guys like Desi and Jeff, they always want to help you with it. I guess that's the nice
So
thing.
solid.
A lot of these guys who are so mechanically inclined, if you put it that way, they at least always seem willing to help
I know.
others.
They're
Like
just stand
either
up
guys
dudes.
like us or, single moms or whatever. Like they'd go and do any of this stuff for them. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, good stuff.
But then also when you compliment them on their skills, they kind of do what we do when people compliment us on our music skills, right? We go, oh yeah, thanks a lot. And they do the same thing. They're like, yeah, you did enough. You figured it all out. It's like,
And-
you don't understand. Like, to me, that's unbelievable that you can do those things.
And to them, what we do or what you do on the drums is pretty amazing and significant. And that's why, you'll get compliments like, I can't believe you played that song for me. It was so good. Like, I wish I could play the drum. I wish I could play the drums like that. Just like we're saying, I wish I could do my oil change and save $50. But
Yeah, man. And you're totally right. When you get too close to your own talents and you just take it for granted, you don't think they contribute that much, but
yeah,
it does. Like, man, the duo thing we've been doing, to see the impact on just that one person at the bar on that one night, like, it's cool. I really learned a lot about people and how much music means to them doing what we've been doing.
man, like some of the people who just get up and dance, like,
Yeah.
good for you. Good for you, 70-year-old drunk lady at the Miller. Like,
Yeah.
just getting up, letting loose, and like, it's therapeutic, right? I've also taken a little bit of interest in that, and I'm not going to say I've been dancing around my living room naked or anything yet, but I can see how that would make you feel good. I'm trying to come out of my shell a bit more, like listening to some of these live streams and stuff, and like, letting myself move a bit and just really enjoy it. Like, it's it's a pretty interesting thing, dancing. I can see why so many people enjoy it. But
That'd be cool to be really fucking good at, though, wouldn't it?
oh yeah, and again, Desi.
I know, he can move too.
And again, Desi, we haven't had on either podcast, this or between sets.
Yeah, we definitely should have him on between sets. That's a huge miss so far. We've tried, but
Yeah.
hard guy to get to nail down.
And we got to think about maybe doing one of those soon. So Between Sets is the other podcast that I do with Dylan. It used to be weekly or bi-weekly, at least, when we would be at our gigs. And in between sets, we would go out to our car and record a short podcast. But man, yeah, we're missing that, hey?
I know.
We could do it like we could drive our cars to the same spot, meet in the middle, set your mic up, stay in our cars even, like our own cars, so that we're far enough apart. That thing would pick up our voices if we were on a quiet country road.
Probably. Driving side by side.
It might be illegal.
So have you found, like, I've read that podcast listening has really dropped off. People aren't driving to work when they would usually listen to them. Have you found similar?
I had, yeah. And so that's part of the reason why I took a couple weeks off of doing this podcast even. It stopped at 62 weeks in a row, and then I think this is 65. The main reason I started doing it again is because I really want to get to episode 69 and figure out.
Oh, of course.
I got to get like Sue. Is that the sex lady? Dr. Sue, was that her name? You know what I'm talking about? The late night TV show, sex talk lady.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember seeing that on TV. You put it on thinking it would be like really hot, and it was just this old lady, like,
I know, some old lady
rekindling marriages,
talking about how to give a blowjob, and you're like, oh, no,
Yeah.
turn this off.
That's funny.
Anyway, where was I with that? The podcast,
something special for number 69.
Yes, but the podcast definitely did go down just because, like you said, people aren't driving anywhere. So I got to find a way to push people to start listening again. I think I got to push the when you're cleaning your house, listening to podcasts or doing dishes. I feel like that is a good time to do it, and not many people actually do it. So maybe that, or hopefully people start going out for walks and runs again, and they start listening. But I still want to keep the content going, and got a few. We both, even between sets and this show as well, have a pretty good fan base of people who really enjoy listening to this stuff. So we better give them something good soon.
Yeah, definitely, man. Straight up, when do you think we'll ever play again?
I think coming into the summer, I think it'll be up to us. I think there's going to be private parties, like people hosting backyard party events that are going to ask us to play. And then it's going to be like, okay, are we allowed to do this? Should we be doing this? Let's stay far away from these parties. You know what I mean? But I think people are going to start booking private parties again. Because
that'll be the start of it.
Because in BC, the curve has been flattening. We've been doing pretty good. And I think people are already starting to let up a bit, whether they really should be or not. I think people are going to try booking these parties, and then we're going to have to think about it and say, yeah, I guess let's book it. And if the cops show up, whatever. It just means it's a good party. Yeah. But that's
so
what I was.
You think it'll be private parties that kind of ease things back into it?
Yeah, I would think even end of July, early August. I think we'll be doing something.
Interesting.
Yeah. What about you? What were you thinking?
I think that I could see that probably this summer, something kind of starting up, and then I honestly think it might die down again in the winter if the second wave comes, like a lot of people seem to be expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Have to see how that plays out. I'm just like thinking about all those big bands that it takes a lot for them to schedule a tour.
Right.
And who knows when we'll see that again. Definitely not this year.
No, like even, the major sports and stuff, like,
yeah,
if they come back, whenever they come back, it's very likely there won't be fans, even if they wait till the fall to start hockey again. I don't think October hockey is going to have an arena full of fans. Like, yeah, it's tough to think about those big events, man. And what I've heard is, until we get a vaccine, nothing like that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been adjusting okay. Just, taking it as it comes.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel really bad, people out of work and, anxious about income, and then also the whole health side of it, people getting sick, people losing loved ones.
Yeah.
But I haven't minded a little bit of a break.
Dude.
Right? And it's not like my life was super hard, but you're trying to make some long-term plans or figure a few things out. And meanwhile, all these like habitual responsibilities and social engagements just keep coming back and dragging you into the same mindset all the time. And then all of a sudden, just like that, it was all gone.
Man.
And you can kind of think for yourself again and start making new, healthier habits. I don't know. I haven't hated it for sure.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of positives you can find in situations like this, and you just got to look for them hard enough. And it can be a good reset. Just kind of like what you're talking about. Just reset your life, your thinking.
Reinvent yourself.
You can find those new big goals, or you can find that you don't need big goals and you can, live a life that, I don't know, just, you could reset and kind of find a new fulfillment in whatever you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. A day-to-day that you enjoy.
Yeah, totally. That's what I've found with this routine of getting up early with Ledger. I'm like, frick, I think I'm supposed to be a morning person and I would love to do this. And
really?
Like I'm up by 7:30 pretty much every morning. Whereas, when we were playing gigs and playing out late at night, I was usually getting to sleep in a bit or always going right back to bed anyways after bringing the kids to school. But now I've been up in the morning, sometimes even before Ledger, brew the coffee. I go outside and stretch for 10 minutes, like on my front porch, get the cold air on me, and then come inside with my cup of coffee. Yeah, naked. Get my cup of coffee. Also turned into a daily coffee drinker, which I wasn't before. But yeah, every day now it's up early, stretch, coffee, read a book, and then
wow.
Yeah, living the dream.
That's wicked. Yeah, like now that you mention it, that is one big thing is basically when before all this, we always at least had that Wednesday night gig, right? Sometimes Friday, Saturday as well, but always Wednesday. And it's like I would come into the week really rested, Monday, Tuesday, work Wednesday. Wednesday night comes, I'd have a great time at the Miller, and then I get that like 5.5 hours sleep Wednesday night. And Thursday, Friday, it's just like it took me till Sunday to feel like myself again.
Yeah.
And since this break of gigs, that's the biggest thing. My sleep, like I get 8 solid hours of sleep every single night.
I'm almost there now with the getting up early. I have to figure out the going to bed early because I'm still usually usually staying up. I'm not staying up that late, but still a bit later than I would probably like to in a perfect world if I'm getting up at 7:30.
Yeah.
So trying to figure that out still, but yeah, I am enjoying it. I think the best part is not being rushed in the morning with
Because of
kids,
school thing.
with kids
Yeah.
that have to go to school, or yourself who has to like get out the door to go to work. It's nice like not having to be so rushed in the morning. I guess some people probably do better with it. I guess maybe with the structure of get up at this time, do this at that time. But for me, it's like, okay, I'm not rushed. I don't have to get up and do this at that time. I can enjoy the morning. I can get outside and stretch. If Ledger's up, that's okay. If he's not up, even better. Like nothing, it doesn't really throw me off. So yeah, I'm enjoying taking the time in the morning. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
What if you could put anything on the billboard for all of the world to see, what would your message be?
Did you get this from Tim Ferriss?
I did.
Yeah, because
You heard
I
that
looked at
episode?
I looked at his book called something Group of Leaders or something like that, and he asked that question to almost everybody.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I have been listening to his podcast quite religiously, and I've only heard it once on there. I don't know why.
Oh.
I don't think he asks it all the time on there, but he brought it up, and I think he said this is one of his favorite questions or whatever.
Tribe of Mentors is what it calls,
Yes.
not Group of Leaders. That's a way cooler name than Group of Leaders.
Yeah, good thing you're not a title writer.
Yeah. I kind of am too. Oops. Yeah, and when I was reading that book, I actually pondered this question, and I had an answer. Give me a second to try and remember what I was thinking.
Yeah, no problem.
I'd say, just off the top of my head, helps me out a lot. The will to do comes from the knowledge that we can do.
The will to do comes from the knowledge that we can do.
You know, a lot of times people
like-
struggle with motivation to do anything, and
Yeah.
you think they're lazy, but that's probably not what it is. It probably comes down to that you don't actually think you'll be able to achieve even the smallest goal. So you don't. Why would you want to do something if you don't think it's going to work, right?
Yeah, and so it's mostly about motivation to you then?
It's from this book that I read a lot. It's a tiny little book, and it's all about how your thoughts affect your circumstances.
Yeah.
And it's got lots of little tidbits like that throughout, but that one always really sticks with me because I think that's something that I struggle with. I don't think I'm a lazy person, but it's like, you know, why haven't I written a song or done this or that? And it's probably, once I actually think about it a little harder, it's probably because I don't think the end goal will actually arrive, kind of, if that makes sense. And
Because
I'm sure a lot of people are like that.
because you're not sure that you have the tools to create this or finish it or
Yeah,
or do
like
it?
probably like a major self-doubt thing. But like
Yeah.
for an analogy, like imagine you were extremely overweight and you're told if you just go out and walk 2 kilometers, just whatever you can do, you'll eventually get thin. But you think, I'm fat, I'm always going to be fat. Why would you go for a walk, right? And like rightly so. Why wouldn't you just watch TV and chill out rather than put yourself through a little bit of discomfort? But if you actually know, okay, this is going to work, I am going to get thin, or whatever your goal is, you'll get up and you'll do it because you believe that it's going to work out.
Yeah, okay. I'll still have to chew on
Yeah.
that for a while to really put it into terms for my life, but that's a good one.
Well, you're super confident though, so you might not have the same hang up.
Interesting. Yeah. This is really cool. When are we going to do the between sets thing, or when am I going to see you again? Have to
Yeah,
change
I
it
should,
off.
man. I will admit, I feel really bad. I keep telling you I'm going to come out there and I just don't do it.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Good
Like you said,
question.
it's just not
Yeah,
wanting to.
and then plus I am still working, and like we're super busy, which is exciting. And even though I don't have to commute, which is awesome, maybe I'm trying to cram too much after work because I said that we're not playing, so I don't want to lose the skills we have. So I'm practicing drums, practicing singing, trying to write a little bit, trying to read, trying to exercise, and then that's like what my week turns into. And then the weekend, I'm also trying to cram it. What does Sheldon used to say? 5 pounds of shit in a 3-pound bag or something like that.
No,
But I should be able to just drive out there and come say hi from the car, the street.
yeah, at some point. I honestly don't hold it against you, man. I know you're a very hardworking guy and you're passionate about a lot of things that you want to keep working at, and I respect that. And
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's a good trait that you have. I would love to see you more though, and I know the kids would too. So
I know. I feel bad about that. Actually, I got to ask, and maybe put terror into you. What do you got planned for Mother's Day?
dude, okay, when is this episode
You
going to come
knew
out?
of it?
Yes, I know of it and it's also close to my mom's birthday.
Okay.
But I don't think I should say because I did have an idea. I do have an idea, but Jamie might hear this before Mother's Day, right?
Okay. Fair enough.
When is Mother's Day?
This Sunday, not today, like a week.
Okay, yeah. Then I should still be good. Actually, no, I think I'm fucked. Damn it. I had a really good idea, babe. I promise. I had a really good idea. But all this COVID thing, like, what am I supposed to do? Man?
It's tough.
What should I do, seriously?
It's the Andrew Christopher Show. But really we call it the AC Show. Yeah, we really call it the AC Show. Really call it the AC Show. It's the AC Show. It's the AC Show with AC, your host. Check it out.